2 p.m. and my name is Claire McKenna. I'm the chair of the Ann Arbor Energy Commission, and as chair, I'm calling this meeting to order and participating from Ann Arbor tonight. Welcome to the April 2024 installment of the Energy Commission electronic meeting style. We will conduct this meeting like in-person meetings. Commissioners, during roll call, please indicate your current location, and during the meeting, please remain on camera. Public comment will be via telephone only tonight. To speak during any of the public comment opportunities, please call one of the following toll-free numbers: 877-853-5247 or 888-788-0099 and enter the meeting ID number, which is 956-8718-7876 on your phone. This information is also available on the published agenda, in the public notices section of the city website, and on the broadcast of this meeting on CTN channel 16, AT&T channel 99, and of course our home a2gov.org/watchctn. Joe, would you please read the land acknowledgement statement for us tonight?
Yep. I acknowledge that the land the city of Ann Arbor occupies is the ancestral, traditional, and contemporary lands of the Anishinaabe, including Odawa, Ojibwe, and Bodewadmi and Wyandot peoples. I further acknowledge that our city stands, like almost all property in the United States, on lands obtained, generally in unconscionable ways, from indigenous peoples. The taking of this land was formalized by the Treaty of Detroit in 1807. Knowing where we live, work, study, and recreate does not change the past, but a thorough understanding of the ongoing consequences of this past can empower us in our work to create a future that supports human flourishing and justice for all individuals.
Thank you very much. And now we're going to move to the roll call. Joe, do we have any excused absences today? And then would you please take the roll call?
Yeah, I've heard from Commissioners Sendra, Levin, and Colvin Garcia that they'll be a little bit late, so they should be joining us at some point. So yeah, for roll call, again, just state where you are located. Commissioner Berkowitz.
Present from Ann Arbor.
Councilmember Briggs.
Here in Ann Arbor.
You said Commissioner Colvin Garcia will be running a little late. Let me just make sure they're not in the lobby. Okay. Commissioner Hans.
Here in Ann Arbor.
Vice Chair Harp.
Present here in Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Levin will be running a little late today. Chair McKenna.
Here.
Commissioner Mirsky.
Here in Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Overpeck.
Here in Ann Arbor.
Councilmember Radina.
Here in Ann Arbor.
Like I said, Commissioner Sendra is running a little late today. Commissioner Smith.
Here in Ann Arbor.
And Commissioner Zittelman.
Here in Ann Arbor.
All right, Chair, you got a quorum. Back to you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to move to approving the agenda so we can move forward with our meeting tonight. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as posted tonight?
So moved.
Thanks, Commissioner Mirsky. And a second?
Second.
Commissioner Berkowitz. Commissioners, please raise your hand if you want to propose changes or discuss an issue. Any issues tonight on the agenda? Great. So seeing no hands raised, all those in favor of approving the agenda, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'm seeing unanimous agreement, and so the agenda is approved. Now we'll move to approve the minutes as posted. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Councilmember Medina, thank you. And a second, Commissioner Mirsky. Commissioners, any changes, proposed changes at this time to the minutes from last month? Okay. Seeing no hands, all those in favor of approving the minutes as posted, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Unanimous agreement there, and the minutes are approved. Okay, so we're going to move into our first opportunity for public comment tonight. Folks may speak for up to 3 minutes. If you're watching on CTN, again, the numbers are 888-788-0099 or 877-853-5247. And the meeting ID number is 956-8718-7876. This information is also displayed on the meeting agenda and the video feed, and city staff will select callers that have raised their hand one by one using the last 3 digits of your phone number. To electronically raise your hand to indicate your desire to speak, please press *9 on your phone. You will hear an automated announcement that the host is allowing you to speak. And when doing so, please move to a quiet area so that we may hear you clearly, and please say your name and address as you begin your comments. Thank you. Joe, is anyone on the line?
Yep. And I do just want to note we have a number of callers, so we will again be focusing on that 3-minute time period. I'll give you a verbal notice when you have 30 seconds remaining. So first up, we have caller ending in 851.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, this is Parnell McCarter. I'm at 560 Little Lake Drive, Unit 30, Ann Arbor, Michigan, 48103. I'm calling because I want to ask, I want to express my concern regarding proposed ballot language for having a sustainable electric or energy utility. I do support having an SEU in Ann Arbor. I think it's an important and critical step in the direction that we want to go. And I think one of the valuable things about it is that it can be a step towards full municipalization, which the city of Ann Arbor needs to reach a number of different goals, from environmental to social justice to equity, to cost effectiveness over the long term, to financial. And I'm concerned that proposed ballot language as it stands right now is biased against full municipalization. This needs to be amended to remove this bias and to remove these obstacles from municipalization. There are a whole host of reasons why full municipalization is important and needed in Ann Arbor. One of the things that I care about personally is the fact that DTE has been moving towards the use of more fracked gas. Fracking, I'll just read some quotes from a Yale Environment 360 article. It notes that a paper by the Yale School of Public Health this summer, this was written a little bit before, but showed that children living near Pennsylvania wells that use fracking to harvest natural gas are 2 to 3 times more likely to contract a form of childhood leukemia than their peers who live farther away. That followed a Harvard study in January that found elderly people living near or downwind from gas pads have a higher risk of premature death than seniors who don't live in that proximity. It also notes that since 2014, a compendium of various studies has tallied 2,239 peer-reviewed papers that found evidence of harm, with nearly 1,000 of those papers published since 2018. DTE is planning to use fracking for the foreseeable future. There's really not an end in sight. And so we should not be using, residents of Ann Arbor should not have to pay their utility bills to a company that uses fracking. Full municipalization will allow Ann Arbor to have more reliable, cost-effective, and greener electricity. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Caller ending in 683.
I heard 683. I hope I'm the right person.
Yep, you're good.
My name is Greg Marks. I live at 1621 Arbor Drive off Broadway in Ward 1. I'm a homeowner, and I very much support both the municipal electricity utility and the sustainable energy utility. And I believe that in terms of what I'm reading in the draft, section 1510, it's too restrictive, and it may well get in the way of the overall goals that we have in the long run, giving us a chance as a city to move quickly and creatively as possible. And my understanding and history with such things is you want to leave maximum room for maneuver in your bylaws, rules, regulations, whatever, so that you can adjust as the field of play changes. It's a very dynamic area. So I would drop the opt-in clause. I would drop the SEU will be fee-based. And I would rewrite the section on renewable energy just to say, with the goal of 100% renewable energy. I appreciate the effort to get this on the ballot. I hope that you'll indeed give both the folks working on the SEU and very much on the MEU maximum chance to be flexible and adjust as this progresses forward. Thank you for the time. I'm done.
Thank you. Next up is caller ending in 228.
Hello, my name is Greg Woodring. I am the president of Ann Arbor for Public Power, and I'm calling in, like the other previous speakers tonight, to encourage you to recommend an amendment to the proposed ballot language that would place an SEU on the ballot. Ann Arbor for Public Power does support an SEU as a step towards full municipalization. However, we do not believe it is sufficient by itself. The feasibility study report that came out in September showed that the estimate is that it will only provide up to 10% of Ann Arbor's total energy demand. We do not have enough rooftop solar potential within the city to reach 100% renewable power with the SEU alone. Without the ability to do power purchase agreements, the utility will be significantly curtailed in its ability to roll out renewable energy to the city. And without a built-in revenue base, it'll be very slow to start up. Creating a greenfield utility is very difficult, and while it can accelerate the expansion of renewables, it will never hold a candle to full municipalization's potential. As it stands, Ann Arbor for Public Power believes that the proposed ballot city charter language would not allow the SU to transition into a full municipal energy utility if the city chooses to condemn and purchase BT's infrastructure. The restriction on the utility being exclusively an opt-in utility would prevent it from being the exclusive power provider for the city. Additionally, the statement that the SU would be fee-based is likely not compatible with a rate-based utility like a full municipal energy utility. And finally, while it is Ann Arbor for Public Power's goal to reach 100% renewable power, it is a significant logistical and legal liability to require that within city charter language. Instead, we would propose that the city state something such as the goal of powering the local grid with 100% renewable energy to serve all of Ann Arbor, which is in line with our 820 goals. I very much hope that you will have a good discussion about this and that these amendments will be made so that we can continue together in a spirit of cooperation towards a greener and more publicly owned and sustainable and just energy future. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up, caller ending in 897. Caller ending in 897. If you're speaking, we cannot hear you.
Thank you. My name is Catherine Gallagher. I live in Ypsilanti now since 2014, but between 1998 and 2014, I was an Ann Arbor resident. We who are living in other municipalities throughout the county and indeed throughout Michigan are really interested in what is happening with all of the efforts in Ann Arbor to decarbonize and to move to a legitimately sustainable energy program. And that's partly because we can all follow Ann Arbor's lead, presumably, once you set a standard. But that's also why I'm calling today, because I support the publicly owned municipalization programs. And I support the idea of having an SEU as an intermediate step. But I find it dismaying for ballot language at this point to foreclose any additional options to boost decarbonization. and to maximize affordability and reliability for all residents of Ann Arbor. This 10% cap is pernicious. There's no way of being able to make that an equitable program. And I urge the commission to reconsider language that doesn't shut down options before we know what we need to take as next steps. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is caller ending in 023.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, this is Sue Haddon. I live on 1730 Ivywood. And I'll be brief. I would just like for the proposed SEU charter language to be tweaked so that it's possible to transition to a full MEU. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is caller ending in 334.
Hello, my name is Marissa Mercurio. My address is 2451 Yost Boulevard, Ann Arbor. I'm calling to reiterate essentially what everyone else before me has already said. I fully support a fully publicly owned electric utility here in Ann Arbor. Although I am concerned about the ballot language as it presently stands on environmental terms, on financial terms, and I feel that as it is now, the proposed language undermines an SEU from transitioning into a full MEU, which I support. And I hope that the council will reconsider. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is caller ending in 763. Caller ending in 763. If you're speaking, you're currently muted. All right, we will come back in a couple. Next up is caller ending in 462.
Yeah, hi, I'm Joshua Jacobson. I'm at 1755 Franklin Court South. I'm calling in today to echo some of the concerns raised by some of the other callers. I'd support a sustainable electric utility, and the progress we would make there is a great first step in some of our energy transition here in the city. But like the others have said, I would like this to be able to be a piece that we can transition to a more broadly scoped municipal electric utility at some point in the future. And I think that the proposed language specifically around the opt-in nature of the sustainable electric utility, the 100% renewable energy as a requirement instead of a goal, and some of those other pieces there are somewhat hostile towards full municipalization. I look forward to supporting this bill on the ballot in November, and I would like to see this be a piece that we can transition to a more complete energy utility in the future. Thank you.
Now I'm muted. Caller ending in 893.
Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Okay. My name's Grace Whitney. I live at 3378 Landings Drive in Ann Arbor. I'm just calling to say pretty similar things to what you've already heard from other participants. I'm really interested in Ann Arbor adopting a municipal electric utility for a large variety of reasons, not only for the pathway to more sustainable energy. And I think that the sustainable utility is a great step on that way. But I have some of the same concerns about the specific language involved, eventually being an obstacle to that broader municipal electric utility that I think should be the end goal. I think it will help us reach a lot of the important goals of the community in terms of equity and sustainability. And so I think that it's important with the ballot language just to not limit ourselves on being able to transition to a full municipal electric utility. Thank you.
Thank you. Caller ending in 134. Caller ending in 134. You were unmuted for a second. We're tapping noises and now you're muted again.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello,
Yes, we
can you
can.
hear me?
Yep.
Okay, hi, my name is Gretchen Capel-Alex. I live at 1215 Newport Road in Ann Arbor. I'm calling today because I fully support having a publicly owned electric utility here in Ann Arbor. There's a lot of evidence from other communities that when progressive communities such as Ann Arbor push for a municipal community, the benefits cascade to other communities in the state. So this is a way for Ann Arbor to be a leader in pushing sustainable energy more broadly than just our own wealthy community. I think that a critical benefit of a sustainable energy utility is that it could ultimately be transitioned into a full municipal energy utility. But the proposed SEU charter language undermines the SEU from transitioning into a full MEU. I'm not sure why this is, but I really believe that putting an end to DTE would make for better energy policy for people not only in Ann Arbor, but throughout the state. DTE is a rent-seeking corporation, and it makes many people in this state vulnerable to the whims of a profit-seeking corporation. I oppose reliance on DTE, and having only an SEU would leave us vulnerable to predation by DTE for the future. The language that undermines the transition to a municipal utility is unnecessary, and I believe that passing this resolution would be hostile towards full municipalization, which is what we should be seeking, both for equity reasons and for climate and sustainability reasons. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have caller ending in 245.
Hello, my name is Kathleen Murphy. I live at 315 Linda Vista Street in Ann Arbor. That's in Ward 5. And I'm speaking tonight because I saw on the agenda this quote, resolution supporting advancement of the Ann Arbor Sustainable Energy Utility, or SEU. I work with the organization Ann Arbor for Public Power, A2P2, and we are interested in bringing about a municipal, that means public, electric utility, or MEU, and replacing our current utility, investor-owned utility, DTE. We, A2P2, have always, however, supported the SEU and have seen it as a beginning arrangement with opt-in options for residents, along with still working with DTE. We think the SAU could gradually transition to an MEU and be able to then serve all residents of Ann Arbor. Last Thursday, A2P2 and OSI held a joint, very well-attended town hall about how the SEU and MEU could work together. Dr. Missy Stultz spoke for OSI, and Grade Woodring, our A2P2 president, spoke for A2P2. Given this history of trying to foster togetherness, we were and are surprised to see some of the language in the SEU proposed charter amendment, which people already talked about tonight. The language that would be detrimental to ever having an MEU possible. we hope you, commissioners, can consider the following 3 points. We'd be happy to support the SAU charter amendment if these points could be better clarified. And those points, which others have already mentioned tonight, but I will just mention them briefly again. Issue 1 is the opt-in message. We think that the word opt-in should be taken out. And then for this reason, removing opt-in from the city charter amendment leaves open the possibility that the SEU could be opt-in, while the MEU could not be. Also, the words all from renewable sources, we thought that put A2P2 proposes
30 seconds.
changing all from renewable sources to the goal of powering the local grid with 100% renewable energy. And the last one, issue 3, was the SEU will be fee-based. This wording would preclude the transition from the proposed SEU into a full MEU, and MEU would likely be rate-based. Such a specification is unnecessary. So for these reasons, we hope you will consider this and maybe get some feedback to
Thank you.
OSI
We're at
about
time.
if this has to be necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is caller ending in 763, attempting again. Caller ending in 763, you're currently muted. All right, we will circle back at the end. Next up will be caller ending in 529. Caller ending in 529.
Hello, this is Milt Baker. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
As I said, my name is Milt Baker. I live at 628 Green Road in Ann Arbor, and I've got some comments on the proposed ballot initiative on the SEU. I 100% support the SEU, and I do have a rooftop solar and batteries, and I've seen the technology, and it really works well. And obviously, Detroit Edison's poor reliability and poor performance are reasons to have an SEU. But the thing about the SEU is the information that I've seen, and I've heard people say it tonight, is it could only generate about 10% of Ann Arbor's energy needs by 2030. So that any ballot proposal needs to recognize a transition to other things like an MEU. And I think the specific proposal inhibits the ability to transition. For example, as others have mentioned, the opt-in. Obviously, you can opt in for an SEU, but if you have an MEU, you can't really opt in. You have to be a part of it. And also the 100% renewable portion of it. There may be times when with an MEU it can't be 100% right away, but can migrate to that. So I really hope you'll take a look at the ballot language that's on there and make sure that there's nothing that precludes MEU, because it seems to me it would make a logical progression from the SEU to the MEU. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next up is caller ending in 474. Caller ending in 474, you're currently muted. All right, we will circle back. Next up is caller 580.
There, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, I'm Kyle Leash. I live at 1755 Franklin Court South, Ann Arbor. And I was calling, like other callers, to echo sentiments that I would like to see some of the language around the sustainable electric utility to be modified so that it's more easily attainable to move towards the full municipalization. And generally, I would like to echo the sentiments of the other callers, in that I would like to see the specific ballot or the specific language on the ballot change, so that it's not restrictive of adopting a municipal energy utility. I think that that's a really important thing for you, Ann Arbor, as it moves forward. And I would like to see the commission recognize that. So yeah, that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is caller ending in 661.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Hi, my name is Gus Teske. I live in Ward 5. Also, I'd like to say to 763, have you tried pressing *6? That might help you unmute. I don't know if you know that or not. But anyway, like I said, I live in Ward 5. I'm calling to oppose the current ballot question language from the city for a sustainable energy utility, an SEU, for the November 2024 election. That language blocks or hinders the creation of a full municipal electric utility, or MEU, in Ann Arbor. I support Ann Arbor for Public Power's proposed amendments to the ballot question language to remove the blocks. We need to build the SEU and MEU in parallel and then transition from the SEU to the MEU, because only the MEU can deliver 100% renewable, reliable power to all Ann Arbor residents and completely replace DTE. Not replacing DTE is a non-starter for me. I'm tired of their failures. So the MEU is the only solution because it actually provides 100% renewable power to all Ann Arborites. And phase 1 feasibility shows that the SEU can provide only 10% by 2030. And MEU can also do it by about 2030, can provide power by 2030. But if not, if there is some delay or something, it will come in soon thereafter. And a little bit late and providing a solution is better than early and never being able to get there. So that's what please fix that ballot language, and thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Next up is caller ending in 719.
Hi, my name is Matt Bossart. I'm at 615 West Huron Street in Ann Arbor, and I'm a PhD student and I study the electric power system. Last week I attended the town hall event whose purpose was to discuss the SEU and the MEU and how these two ideas might complement each other. And throughout the presentations from both Ann Arbor for Public Power and the Office of Sustainability and the Q&A, supporters of both of these ideas mentioned this idea of starting with the SEU and eventually transitioning to the MEU. And so I just like to kind of acknowledge that it's important to act quickly, and I think that the SEU can help with this. I also want to encourage the Energy Commission to really consider the ramifications of their actions well beyond the 2030 A20 goals. I believe that as an investor-owned utility, DTE's primary goal is always going to be to maximize the profit for their shareholders. And this means that their interests are simply not aligned with the long-term interests of Ann Arbor residents. I believe that to enact a meaningful change on a longer timescale, we must eventually fully replace DTE and establish an MEU. Like others, I'm calling today to ask the Commission to revise the SEU charter language so that it becomes less restrictive and does not directly undermine the possibility of transitioning the SEU to an MEU, as outlined by Ann Arbor for Public Power. And by simply modifying this language, which seems to me to be an easy fix, Ann Arbor will be well positioned to continue to study the feasibility of municipalization through a phase 2 evaluation study. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Next up, we have caller ending in 926.
Hi, my name is Lisa Jevons. I live at 1312 Cambridge in Ann Arbor. I'm a neighborhood association leader and a longtime volunteer with Ann Arbor for Public Power. I strongly urge the commission to reread the portion of the feasibility study from last year that details the relationship between a city-run SEU and a municipal energy utility. It clearly recommends that any SEU should be able to be folded into a future municipal energy utility. However, that could not happen with the unnecessary language currently in this ballot initiative. It makes me wonder whether the city is truly invested in a clean energy future for all of its citizens or is simply focusing on its own pet projects. It would be extremely short-sighted of you and a huge mistake to pass this as written. I urge the commission to rewrite the ballot initiative as others have suggested so that Ann Arbor can have the flexibility to truly achieve its net zero goals and be free of DTE down the road, which is what we all want and deserve. We do not deserve the poison pill language in this ballot initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is caller ending in 038.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
We can.
All right, hello, my name is Kipling Caldall. I'm Vice President of Ann Arbor for Public Power. I'm also calling in regards to the resolution supporting the advancement of the Ann Arbor Sustainable Energy Utility, or SEU. Like others on this call, I also believe that full municipalization is the only true path for Ann Arbor to achieve 100% renewable energy for all of Ann Arbor. And I support revising the language for the new section of the city charter amendment, as has already been outlined by other members of ATP2. By removing this unnecessary language, the city has much more flexibility to transition to full municipalization in the future without having it to introduce yet another section to the city's charter and likely cause more confusion among Ann Arbor voters. This will create redundant bureaucratic structures in the city if the MEU has to be created separately from the SEU, and ultimately time wasted on this critical issue of addressing the climate crisis. So thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Next up, caller ending in 678.
Yeah, hi. My name is Gaia Kyle. I live at 530 Miller Avenue in Ann Arbor. First of all, I want to just thank the Energy Commission for your patience through all these comments. I know that can be tedious sometimes for people who are on boards and commissions when you get inundated like this. So thank you for your patience. I, like everyone else, am supporting change to the language for the SEU initiative, or whatever it is. I want to make a political point and also a technical point. And the political point is things work better when we're all in this together. Obviously, there's a movement trying to get full municipalization, and elections can be close. And, we don't want to alienate people who might decide to vote against or stay home rather than saying, hey, we're all in this together. So that's the political point. The technical point is really to say even for the SEU, there may be times when non-renewable energy is useful in, for instance, battery systems that provide support if there's incoming energy that can be gotten that's a mix of renewable and non-renewable. And so even for the SEU, that clause seems ill-advised. I think the other clauses that have been talked about also are problematic from the muni perspective, and I hope that you can remove them from the language. All right. Thank you much.
Thank you. Next up, we have caller ending in 897. Caller ending in 897, you're currently muted. All right. Next up, we have caller ending in 134.
Thank you, Mr. Lang and Chair McKenna, Ken Garber, 28 Haverhill Court. Yeah, I agree with the previous speakers about the SEU ballot language and municipalization. But I'm mainly calling tonight about the administrator's beneficial electrification memo. We urgently need to end fossil fuels and new construction. I know you share that concern, but the administrator's memo is absolutely the wrong approach. It proposes eliminating planning commission review and citizen participation and suggests waiving fees, easing natural resource mitigation, presumably things like replacement of removed landmark trees, loosening stormwater retention requirements, even providing direct taxpayer subsidies to developers. Incidentally, it allows gas connections for commercial kitchens and backup generation in violation of the 820 plan. These are all terrible ideas. First, they normalize gas. So I think they're unlikely to even work very well. And second, they're completely one-sided in favor of giveaways to developers at the expense of public funds and public process. No disincentives for gas. Now, the argument has been that state law gives us no other choice than this sort of thing. This is false, or at least has not been shown to be true. You don't have to modify the building code. Look at what other cities have done. Burlington, Vermont charges a carbon pollution impact fee for new developments and major renovations. You had first reading for such an ordinance for Ann Arbor last August, one that proposed a fee equivalent to the social cost of carbon for gas burning developments. I haven't seen that ordinance since at your table. I mean, one could argue that it's not a fee, it's a tax, in which case, fine, put it to the voters like Burlington did. Also, at your December meeting, you heard Cambridge, Massachusetts City Council member Quinton Zondervan tell you how that city amended its energy benchmarking ordinance to require all large buildings to reduce emissions to net zero by 2035 or pay a compliance fee. This has the effect of preventing gas in new construction for these buildings. Neither option compromises development standards or penalizes taxpayers. So I suggest you seriously examine both those options and probably others before approving any of the administrator's suggestions. Yeah, I think if people in Burlington or Cambridge were to read that memo, they would be astounded. So, like Mr. Kyle, I beg your forbearance about the number of comments tonight and really appreciate your patience in hearing all of them, including mine, and I look forward to the meeting. Thanks as always for your work.
Caller ending in 795.
Hi there, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. My name is Brian Geringer. Hello, commissioners. Thank you so much for your service to the city. I know it can be a lot. I also want to take a moment to thank all the callers tonight who took time out of their dinner hour to get their voices heard. This is very important. And I just really appreciate it. It's very cool to see. I am a new addition to this wonderful group of Ann Arborites that call ourselves Ann Arbor for Public Power. And in my short time working with A2P2 so far, I have just found such an incredibly dedicated, passionate, and compassionate group who truly want the empowerment of this community, the greening of the planet, the pursuit of environmental justice, and ultimately affordable, reliable public power. In many conversations with other people in this community, I found that the idea of gaining control of our electricity back from DTE is wildly popular, and I think we're seeing that here tonight. In many years of organizing experience, I have to say it is very rare that an idea will excite people like this one does. And it's for this reason that I am calling tonight to echo what everyone else has said. With gravity, I think this community deserves a pathway toward full municipalization of our energy grid. It's very clear that that is something people are very interested in. We're not asking for you or city council to approve the condemnation of DTE's infrastructure tomorrow. I understand it's going to take more time, more public input, but we are asking that you strongly encourage city council via resolution to amend the proposed SDU charter amendment language so that it does not preclude a later transition into a full municipal utility that is connected to the grid. I think people have gone over this already, but A2P2 has identified 3 specific pieces of language that must be amended in the proposed charter amendment in order for it to be amenable to future full municipalization. The first is the opt-in language, which we are asking to be removed. The second is the specification that all the energy must come from renewables. That should be changed to just a dedication towards 100% renewable energy. We know that a full muni can operate
30 seconds.
Provide many times the amount of renewable energy to Ann Arbor than the SDU could ever hope for. And I do want to also make sure that I'm bringing up the line that says fee-based as well, because that should be removed and is unnecessary. All 3 of these things are unnecessary. And these amendments would not change the spirit of the proposal, but they would open a pathway for future collaboration. Thank you so much. I look forward to working with you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have caller ending in 020.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Aaron Wolf. I live at 1215 Newport Road, Ann Arbor. And I just want to echo what has been said before about the change to the language to allow it to be able to not only support an SEU, but allow for the opportunity that it can transition into an MEU. I'm a scientist, and you guys did a study, and the study showed that the SEU is great, but can only support 10% of Ann Arbor residents, and that in order to cover everyone, which is a major equity issue, we're really going to need to transition to a full MEU. And this seems like a no-brainer. If we just change the language on 3 little specific parts, it has no detriment for the ability of an SEU to be created through this measure, and it leaves more options open. I really appreciate the time of the commissioners, and I appreciate everyone else calling in. And I just remember this is like not just a sustainability issue, but it's an equity issue. We want all Ann Arborites, and eventually leading the way for people all around the state to be able to have access to clean, affordable, and reliable energy that doesn't just enrich a large corporation. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Next up, we have caller ending in 194.
Hello, this is Rita Mitchell calling. I am the chair of the Environmental Commission, and I'm speaking for myself tonight, not the commission. I just feel from looking at the agenda tonight and hearing comments that there is information missing from the Energy Commission's packet that would be very useful to have before voting on either item tonight. There is information about the ballot that I don't see in your agenda, yet you're being requested to vote in favor of moving forward with the SCU. And there is almost no information providing details with respect to the beneficial electrification information. So I think you need much more information in order to have an adequate discussion and certainly to vote with respect to the SCU. So that's all I have to say tonight. In addition, so I do support the other comments that have been made tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to circle back to the ones who were not able to speak previously. So giving one final call to caller ending in 474. Caller ending in 474. If you're speaking, you are muted.
Hi, this is Cheryl Sabilski. I live at 839 Bruce Street in Ward 5 here in Ann Arbor. And I'm really calling just to echo what has been said many times here this evening. Probably the only thing I can add to that is that I personally have experience living in a public power community in Lansing for many years, and also in Gulf Shores, Alabama for a while. There is a difference, and it is notable in many ways in terms of responsiveness and in terms of costs and consistency for certain. So I have supported public power here in Ann Arbor ever since it was very first mentioned for those reasons. I have family in Seattle. I go back and forth there. They also have trees and many of storms. Yet they don't seem to experience anywhere near the problems that we have here during those issues. So public power has been good for me, and it's been my experience. So I think people in Ann Arbor deserve the opportunity to move in that direction at some point. It's going to take some time. And the changes that are suggested from the callers seem like they're the right way to go to me. So thank you for your time and for listening to all of us.
Thank you. No further callers at this time. Well, we got one more. Last second. Caller ending in 934.
Sorry, I didn't realize that I had to do that at the start of the meeting.
All good.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi, I'm Natalie Maxey. I live off of Stone School Road, kind of in the south of Ann Arbor. Just wanted to add another voice echoing kind of what nearly everyone else has said about changing the language in the proposed city charter amendment just to make sure that we're not hindering the creation of a municipal electric utility in the future. Again, of those, or the language of the opt-in, it's honestly more like that's not, how do I say? It's unnecessary, and it kind of eliminates the possibility for the SEU to transition to a full municipal energy utility, and also having more people have a say, and especially like wealthy, more privileged people having a say in their like electric policies and in their electric utility will make the whole process more efficient, because those people will be able to provide resources to accommodate those that don't have the resources to obtain this 100% renewable energy utility. Also, the language, all from renewable sources, we understand logistically that it's going to take a while before our city of Ann Arbor will be able to give everyone power from specifically all renewable sources. It's going to take some time to transition. This is not going to happen overnight. So I think that language should be changed so that with the goal of powering the local grid with 100% renewable energy, just so that it allows for that transition. And also the fact about the SU will be fee-based. I don't think that makes sense, especially because the MEU would be rate-based. And I think that leads to people being more energy efficient, or encourages them to be more energy efficient because they're paying based on how much they use. But yeah, just those three amendments to that proposed ballot initiative. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. That is all the callers I have at this time. Reminder, there is a second public input session at this point. So back to you, Chair.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks everyone for calling in. Very enlightening comments, and I know we'll have a very fruitful discussion coming up here in a minute. I would like to take a 3-minute break. Just have everybody, let's just collect our thoughts, and we'll come back and dive into this next agenda item, which discusses the resolution. So I'll see you back here at 7 p.m. Hey, everybody, come on back. Come on back, come on back. All right. All right, so we will be moving forward to our next agenda item, which is reviewing the resolution supporting advancement of the Ann Arbor Sustainable Energy Utility. This is the second reading of this resolution, and it has been amended since we looked at it last. So we have the opportunity to make amendments, further amendments, perhaps, or vote on it today. Did we want to go over the amendments that were added, or the ways that it's changed since we looked at it last? Yes, Commissioner Orsky.
I have a question for clarification, referring particularly to the comments made by Environmental Commission Chair Rita Mitchell. And that is, while we have seen a resolution, I'm not aware that we have been provided the language that apparently 20 or so Ann Arbor for Public Power members have seen. And therefore, unless I'm wrong, I looked online during public comments. I could not find anything in our agenda. I could not find anything on Legistar. I could not find anything in the public domain. So my position is I'm not willing to vote on a resolution in favor of a resolution that calls for a ballot initiative where the language has already been drafted and we haven't had a chance to look at. So correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that sounds correct. But perhaps Councilmember Briggs has some more information on that.
I don't necessarily have information on the fact that that was not included on the ballot on the agenda tonight. You're correct that the Energy Commission has not been provided that language. It has been drafted. I think it was shared as a courtesy with A2 Public Power. I think it could perhaps be correct in assuming that this is, maybe it would have been useful to have it on the agenda tonight as well. I suspect that might be able to be something that could be pulled up. However, I think the desire around, and I would certainly defer to Councilmember Redina on this as well, it's not appropriate, in my opinion, for the Energy Commission to be weighing in to specific language of the ballot. This has been carefully crafted by the Attorney's Office to achieve very specific goals to make sure that the sustainable energy utility is the city is granted permission by or not by the people to set up a very specific type of utility, a sustainable energy utility. And so the language of that is not necessarily appropriate to be wordsmithed by commissions. It's something that's needs to be developed in a different manner. And I think that was probably one of the considerations from speaking generally and broadly to the goals of setting up a sustainable energy utility rather than to the verbiage around the specific ballot language. I am happy. What I was raising my hand about, and I'm happy to make those comments right now or wait on them, is to speak a little bit to some of the public comment that we heard and some of the critique there, because I think that was really important. One, I'd like to thank everybody for calling in this evening. I think there was a lot of thoughtful comment, and I appreciate people taking the time to do that. I think there has been some confusion around kind of what are our goals of bringing what are we trying to accomplish from this ballot? And that is, as I mentioned already, it's to set up a sustainable energy utility. And so it is crafted around that. If we set up in the future a full transition to full municipalization, that will need to go to the voters, and we will need to be granted that power specifically by the voters to do that. And so the points that folks brought up around this some of the language not allowing for municipalization, full municipalization, that's correct. That is it would not be appropriate for us to go to the voters at this point and ask for those permissions when that's not what we're intending to set up. That does not mean that this is a poison pill, that it sort of hinders us from transitioning to an MEU. Rather, this is it is step one. It allows, should the voters allow for this, it would essentially, create that proof of concept for us to be able to move forward and gain experience in this. And it is very much to accomplish our sustainability goals. And so some of those, there is overlap with the municipalization, but there are differences as well. And I think that's important to know what we're voting on tonight, which is, I guess, for the callers in, there is no language in front of the Energy Commission right now. It is rather support for going to the voters and asking us to set up a sustainable energy utility. So Councilmember Rubin-Tita may be able to correct or fill in what I missed.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah, I was going to say similarly. I mean, I think so. The resolution, as I read it, is, I mean, it's not an endorsement of specific language. It's an endorsement of the concept and moving forward with that concept, which is, I can absolutely understand why folks are interested in the language itself, particularly after all of the calls we received. But I think the endorsement of moving forward with a sustainable energy utility, I feel like we at this group, this particular body, have had a lot of conversations about what a sustainable energy utility is, and the concept of what that means for the city in terms of moving it forward. I would concur with Councilmember Briggs that this is language that's highly legal and technical. It's going in the city charter. And so we've had not just one, but a number of attorneys who have worked on this language, who have tweaked it and changed it. It was shared with, I think, A2P2 out of the spirit of continuing collaboration. I'll be honest, I'm a little surprised by some of the comments tonight about this being a poison pill or hostile to an MEU, because I reread, I've read through the language. I reread it after I saw the talking points that were sent out. And I just don't see that there. We've always talked about these as two parallel paths. We've talked about the sustainable energy utility being something short term or near term that we can accomplish quickly, that we can get set up, that should be 100% renewable. That is the goal of the sustainable energy utility in my mind. I would absolutely not support stripping that out. But I also want to mention, like, that directly from, I wanted to read briefly from the conclusions and recommendations of the technical report we received, which said that the city should authorize a phase 2 feasibility study to characterize more precisely the costs and risks for this approach of an MEU. Because launch of an MEU is not assured and would likely take many years if it were pursued, the city ought concurrently to consider implementation of an SEU to heighten assurance of meeting its 2030 goals. If subsequent studies supported launch of an MEU, when the time came, the SEU assets and programs could be transferred over. If not, the SEU could continue apace. In short, we see development of an SEU as consistent with and advantageous to the longer-term development of an MEU. I would say that nothing in this has changed. And so to hear that characterized differently tonight was surprising to me, largely because I think the city is moving forward with those exact recommendations. We're talking about moving forward with a phase 2 feasibility study to continue moving this forward. If at some point in the future, the city does vote to establish an MEU, there is nothing precluding us at that time from making sure that that language allows for the SEU to be wrapped up into an MEU. But we also would want to make sure that if that language fails, that the SEU can continue on its own. And so I appreciate all of the engagement on this. It is an issue that draws a lot of passion from the community. But I would say we're actually, in my reading of this and in my recommendation, we're moving directly forward with the recommendations that were provided to us from the technical report. And so anyway, I just wanted to kind of provide my view on some of this as I've heard this conversation play out. But also, I think Commissioner Mirsky, I think, we probably should have the language shared out to the commissioners so that you guys can review it as well. But I do want to acknowledge that my reading of this resolution is not an endorsement of that specific language, but rather the endorsement of the concept of moving forward with establishing an SEU. And so.
Thank you for those enlightening comments. I did want to share my take on this as well. I see the passion around getting out of a relationship with DTE, and that makes a lot of sense. I fully support that in my role here as chair and as a citizen. But there are two elements to the language. Well, I know we're not, this is actually not before the commission, so maybe I shouldn't comment. But I did want to share my thoughts. So there are two elements that I wanted to share. I think to just echo what Councilmember Regina has said, I think the opt-in portion of the language actually allows for scaling of a very new scheme that is extremely innovative and isn't really an off-the-shelf product or even system that the city could go out and purchase. The idea is that that was developed in the consultant's report is that this would be a scaling scheme with many different options. And as we go to market and try to understand what those options are, we kind of build it brick by brick so that it actually fits the equity, cost, and renewable energy requirements of the 820 plan. So I'll stop there, but I think that constraint is something that's super important. And I wanted to say from a technical perspective, that's what the SEU does. It's an opt-in system right now. Okay, so hearing Commissioner Mirsky's kind of question about how to move forward, can I hear some more thoughts about do we feel comfortable reviewing the resolution and perhaps voting on it today, or is there a lack of comfort given the fact that we don't have the ballot language before us? Wanted to get some feedback from commissioners. Commissioner Warbeck. You're on mute.
I'm worried about. Okay, thanks. Trying to do this on my phone, which is a little different for me. Given what we just heard, it seems if the goal here is to comment and to think and perhaps vote on a concept. The SCU is a concept I think we've all talked about, and is a entity that could be accomplished quickly relative to an MEU and would achieve quite a bit for the city in terms of emission reductions and the ability to explore what it's like to get greater penetration relatively quickly of renewable energy into our community. And so in that concept, that all makes sense. I think you're right, as you just said, that the opt-in makes perfect sense for an SEU. All renewable, as Councilmember Medina said, makes perfect sense for an SEU. We don't want anything besides renewable energy. I don't want battery energy, from coal. It just doesn't make sense. And fee-based makes sense as well, as some of our phone commenters made. So if this is just getting our sense of whether we would support an SCU, development of an SCU, or not, and B, accept the fact that we haven't seen any language. I can understand that is kind of moot, although it sure would have been nice to see it. I would support moving forward with an SAU for sure.
Councilmember Regina?
Yeah, and I'm gonna look at Erica's little square to see if she starts shaking her head no ferociously, but I don't think there's anything privileged about this language. I mean, it's been shared out with, and so I mean, I'm happy to read it right now. It's a really short section, but it would amend the charter by adding section 15.10 or 15.10 to read as follows. Creation and operation of a sustainable energy utility. Section 15.10, the City of Ann Arbor shall establish, construct, own, and operate within its boundaries an opt-in publicly owned sustainable energy utility to supply, generate, transmit, distribute, and store electricity, heat, cooling, light, and power, all from renewable sources, and provide energy-related services. The SEU will be fee-based.
So if I could keep talking, I really appreciate what you just did. I'm not accusing you of cutting me off or anything like that. I'm just really appreciate what you just did. It sounds fine to me. What my one question would be, and it's I bet anything you know a lot more than we do, you and Councilmember Briggs, is this going to be something that is going to run afoul? Is DTE going to try and deep six it? In other words, has it been determined that we can indeed implement an SCU?
I'm gonna skip to Councilmember Briggs. Do you have a response?
Yeah, sorry to be jumping the queue. Yeah, I think the whole purpose of this, the city believes that we have the power to do this without going to the voters. However, we want to be 100% certain, should a legal challenge arise, that we have gone to the voters and gotten permission that is necessary. So this is an extra step, likely an unnecessary step, but that's why it's framed as it is, to address some of those potential legal criticisms that could, I guess, to essentially make sure that we are granted permission explicitly by the people to do this. So that is the purpose of the ballot initiative.
Okay, Commissioner Hans.
Thank you. So I guess to start, I just wanted to go on record on my frustration on not receiving the altered wording of the charter, proposed altered wording. I understand that we are not in a place to write or alter legal phrasing, but we are here to advise and recommend to City Council. It's quite hard to do so without the appropriate wording, and then to have every caller from Ann Arbor Public Power to already have that. I understand that it was given as a courtesy. It does seem unusual to me that the courtesy was not given to the Energy Commission. I do agree with Commissioner Overbeck's statement that the general impact on our resolution today does not change, but I would very much like to voice my support going forward to receive all available information, whether or not we are able to alter that information, just that we have it available to us in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for that insight. Vice Chair Hart.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just to say that I'm generally, I would say I'm in favor of moving forward on the resolution as currently written, and particularly with the resolved clauses as currently written. Basically, what it says to me is that we're encouraging the City Council to put the sustainable energy utility to a vote of the people in November 2024. Recommending that that any vote related to that come with educational materials about what the sustainable energy utility and what service it provides for those interested in enrolling, as well as supporting staff to put together a request for proposals to determine offerings related to a virtual power purchase agreement, and to support the continued monitoring and technical and economic feasibility of a virtual power reduction agreement in Michigan, and if feasible, exploring ways to integrate that tool into the city's energy future. From that perspective, I think that, nothing about the language of the charter amendment sort of affects how I consider supporting, encouraging the city council to move forward with putting the SEU to a vote. And I think that there's a very strong case that's already been made and referenced in a number of ways for doing so. So I'd be in favor of supporting this. This is written currently. Certainly, the Energy Commission could provide feedback to the language is written as well. Not, although fully understanding that that's obviously gone through legal, it sounds like, as well. So nonetheless, I'm supportive of moving forward.
Okay, Commissioner Levin.
Yes, sorry about the video issues. Not sure what's going on there, but I would be okay with going forward with a vote on this. I agree. It's unfortunate that we didn't get this ballot, or get this language at a time. I do have to assume that there's going to be more, though, that the voters are going to see anyway. They're not just going to get that fair language. They're going to get some sort of explanation on top of that, I would assume. Maybe one of the commissioners could speak to that. But I mean, every ballot initiative I've ever seen has a long explanation that goes with it. That honestly is probably going to be just as important, if not more important, to understand what that's going to be. And this whole confusion with A2P2 does kind of bring up the concern that I sort of alluded to last time too, which is just we need to be really careful with how we do this and not mislead people into what the SEU is and what it's not, as well as the future possibility of an MEU. And, I do think this complicates things if we ultimately do want to go to an MEU, but I understand the reasoning, especially being an attorney, as to why we want to do this. So we have a stronger legal case. DT could still very well come along and say, we want to fight this, because you can pretty much file a law, on just about anything. How frivolous it is might determine how long it takes to get rid of it. And I do agree with this will give us, one less argument that they can make. But just to get back to my initial point, it's unfortunate we didn't get this language, but I'm okay with what we're voting on. It's not specifically about the language anyway. It's just about a general proposal. So I'm okay with that.
Thanks, Commissioner Levin. I wanted to follow up and ask you what you meant by, I thought I heard you say this kind of SEU as proposed in amendment to the charter confuses perhaps the transfer to an MEU. What did you mean by that, or the transfer or transition?
I just mean in the minds of voters that
sure.
People was pretty confused about this, and we supposedly were in communication with them. They didn't fully understand what the ballot was really going to do. They thought it was going to hamstring a bunch of things when it's really not going to. And that's not actually what I originally thought of last meeting. I just thought, more generally, if we give this to the voters now, and then later give them let's say this does pass, and then later on we have another ballot initiative. I guess I'm not fully fleshing it out, but I just there could be different ways it could confuse people, I guess, is what I'm saying. Sure. We just have to be careful the voters.
Yeah, thanks for that point. I think that's super valid. Great, and thanks for clarifying there. Councilmember Rodina.
Thanks. Sorry, I know I'm talking a lot. I wanted to touch one more time on kind of the language not being provided, and I think that was likely, probably an oversight. We we should have made sure it was provided. I also want to express, though, that I think this is also we are in this situation rather as a matter of the timing of language being completed rather than its necessity to this resolution. This resolution was introduced to this body before there was language. If the language was not complete for us to share to A2P2 and they had not called in today, this would have been on the agenda for second reading tonight. And I guess I add that in that, like, I don't believe there was any malicious intent here in not providing the language. I think it was likely an oversight because this resolution was moving forward without respect to what the language was. And it just so happened that the language got completed. It's absolutely additional information that we can provide to this body. But I will also note that it's not on a council agenda yet or anything like that. It is just, I know that the language has been completed because I've had the opportunity to review it. But it is certainly, I think, in defense of whomever was putting together this agenda, I think it was likely simply that this was not attached to the specific language to begin with. And so I understand, given the public comments that we had tonight, that it would have been helpful to have it. But just wanted to add that additional context.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Berkowitz.
Thank you. And everything that's been said so far very much resonates with me. So I'll just add some things that I think might be new. So the resolution that we are considering voting on today, I think actually it's separate from the charter language, but it also specifically does not have the faults that I think folks had pointed out during the public comment period. It refers to the 100% renewable electricity goal. It does not, I think, make that like restriction or mandate. To Commissioner Levin's point, it specifically has a resolve clause about any vote related to the sustainable energy utility would come with educational materials about it and kind of the services that would be provided. So I think it actually helps clarify and mitigate some of the confusion and concerns that have been raised about the charter amendment separately through this resolution. And so for those reasons, I think it is still beneficial to move forward with the resolution at this point, understanding the context that it's separate from the charter language and that it was essentially an oversight that it wasn't shared with this body or the broader public beforehand. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Marsky.
Thank you. I very much appreciate all of the comments from my fellow commissioners and council liaisons. I accept the explanations, and as I stated in our last meeting, I'm on the record supporting the formation of an SEU. I will vote for the resolution. I will repeat my concerns, but accept the explanation that it was an oversight. This is maybe just something that we need to be aware of going forward. I think, full transparency is really important. And there was at least the impression that I had during the comments that there was a lack of transparency, but obviously that was something that was not intended. I just want to point out that there were a few changes to the resolution compared to what we had discussed or had presented to us last time. I had suggested some of those and reviewed the language, and I just want to point out that in the last resolve clause, it also opens the option of looking into virtual power reduction agreements, which I think are very important. I think we all know that an electron saved is better than an electron that has to be generated, even if it has to be generated through a renewable source, because typically those have embodied energies and energy in them. So even if you're generating more power, you still, with solar or wind or whatever, you still have to make those solar panels or build the wind turbines or whatever the case may be. So I think that's an important addition. And I just want to speak to one other point. I don't expect it to be addressed tonight, but I've written some emails. I've sent a text. It hasn't been yet addressed. There is in the report Pathways to 100% Renewable Energy several references to non-recoverable costs. And the statement is made in the report that those are costs that will be incurred to the city that will ultimately be paid by taxpayers. And depending on which of the three options, one is DTE plus, one is DTE plus plus an SEU, another is DTE plus an SEU plus community solar. Those costs will be roughly $10 million between today and 2029. They will be another $10 to $15 million in 2030. And because the report only covers up through 2030, it doesn't state anything about what the costs are going to be after that. But they are likely to be in that range, declining over time as we get to more and more renewable power from whatever the source is. So we will not have to be buying RECs essentially. And what I want to register here is that all of us and all of elected officials, as well as the city, is fully transparent with everyone here in the city as to what those costs actually are likely to be. They will change over time. With the new RPS, they'll likely be lower. But if we miss some of our targets, for example, we know that we've approved a number of new hotel and housing units that are going to be natural gas connected, that are going to be coming on board, that may offset some of those other benefits that we see. I want us to be very transparent with taxpayers and residents about what those costs are and how they might be recovered. So thank you very much for the opportunity to comment. That's my last comment on this topic.
Thank you, Commissioner Murski. Commissioner Colon Garcia.
I also want to thank everyone who has submitted comments, and also to our council members for informing us of the process, as well as reading to us the ballot language. I really appreciate that. I think it would be very beneficial to take this situation that has occurred during the meeting, during the public input in particular, as an opportunity to learn from for production of the educational materials. It's really basically mine from the comments and the concerns of all the folks who called in, and utilize that. So if these folks who are very, very informed about this process are asking these questions, then maybe other folks might be having some other questions. And that's just my very simple comment for tonight.
Okay. I've heard from most folks. I don't want to call people out, but I want to give a little bit of an opportunity for someone who hasn't shared a question or comment yet. We're going to move to taking a motion to open the vote in a minute. And of course, I'll ask for any more comments then, but just giving a little bit of a moment. Okay. So I hear, general support of moving forward. So do I have a motion to open the vote to approve the resolution as posted?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Berkowitz, and a second, Commissioner Murski.
I second.
Thank you so much. Is there any further discussion tonight? Some really, really fruitful topics have been raised. We heard from great commenters. Anybody else with final comments before we take a vote? All right, thank you. So all those in favor of approving the resolution as posted, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 You're all changing, you're moving.
I vote for it as well, too.
So, okay. Okay, and all those opposed, please raise your hand and say no. Okay, and any abstentions tonight? All right. So there's a unanimous vote in support of the resolution, and therefore it is approved. So we'll be sending that over to council in support of putting the SU to the vote of the people. Thank you all for participating in that tonight. All right, where are we at? Let's see. I wanted to consider tabling some items. Let's see. I would like to personally pose a motion to table the discussion of the building electrification options tonight. Is there any second on that? Is that a second?
I support that. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So we're gonna just vote to table that item tonight. So all those in favor of tabling that item tonight, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Okay. And anyone opposed to tabling the item tonight?
I have a suggestion, and that is so that the conversation, when we do take it up, is hopefully more focused, that people provide comments to the city administrator's memo, and those are distributed hopefully to the rest. They can be maybe sent to Joe, and they can be sent to everyone for everyone's consideration. We had some, I think, important comments from Ken Garber. I'm sure there's other ideas that commissioners have, and that may speed and make the discussion of the memo quicker in the next meeting whenever we consider it.
Yeah, I like that. Thanks. All right, so we are going to move to commission business. We have, oh yes, Commissioner Berkowitz.
Sorry to hold this up, but I did want to also flag, just for future discussion, on the city administrator's incentive proposal memo. There was a section on the second page that got cut off. I don't think it's absolutely crucial, but I just wanted to flag it in case anybody wanted to add in the missing information there. It's the second page, the first paragraph under financial support for defined developments. The second sentence starts "these costs" and then has some parenthetical information, and then just doesn't finish. So I think there's supposed to be another sentence or two there that says not crucial, but just pointing that out over here.
I can work on fixing that. Sorry about that.
All right, Commissioner Murski.
Yeah, real quickly, last Monday, City Council passed 4 resolutions which touch to varying degrees on this topic, and I think it might be helpful if those were also provided to the commission so that we consider the city administration's memo in relation to the resolutions that were passed by council.
Great. Okay, so we're going to move to commission business. We have 2 items of business tonight. Number 1 is an update on the empty positions. I know that was something that we discussed last month. Let's see, are any of the council members willing to give an update on the vacancies currently, or you can pass? Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, Councilmember Briggs and I had a conversation with the mayor after our admin committee tonight. And so I believe we are aiming to meet here either this weekend or in the next week to discuss the vacancies.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, and just let it be known that they will have 3 additional vacancies in May, including myself. So I'll be leaving the commission in May, unfortunately. My life is just taking a bit of a turn, and I don't have the bandwidth. I hope to get a PhD one day, and that is right now in conflict. So yeah.
I'd like my objection to that to be noted.
Thank you. I appreciate you. All right, so that's our update on empty positions. So we had an agenda item to discuss chair and vice chair elections. Joe, did we have anybody write in about interest, or we were just asking for a generation of interest, someone to take the chair position, and also someone to run for vice chair? Did you hear from anybody?
Yeah, I have. Well, that's a weird way of phrasing that. No, I have not. But yeah, I was somewhat what we're thinking is just kind of, as in last time, it took us several, 2 or 3 months to actually have an election. Wanted to just kind of get this started. If we're in a different situation where we have folks who are, interested in saying like, yes, I would like to run for chair. Yes, I would like to run for vice chair. We can work on that here. If not, just wanted to start seeding that. So we can have a vote at the upcoming meeting. As Chair McKenna mentioned, they are stepping down and their term runs through the end of May. So the next meeting in May is the last one that Chair McKenna will be here. So if we, do not vote by that time, we will be chairless essentially in June. There's ways to work around that and such, but so just wanted to start getting this out there. Wanted to, again, if we have people who are ready, we can do discussions and voting this time, or we can do discussions and voting next time. But just wanted to start people's thoughts on that.
Yeah, thanks. Councilmember Briggs.
I just wanted to say I'm disappointed that we'll be losing you. Thanks for your service. But I wondered, Commissioner Harp, I think you're serving as vice chair right now. I wondered about your interest in transitioning to chair. If you had interest in that, I'd certainly support it. And Commissioner Smith, I think, if my memory is serving me correctly, that you had maybe suggested that you might be maybe your arm could be twisted to serve as vice chair last time, and I was curious if you would have interest in doing it. In which case, we feel like we might be well positioned to be able to move forward. So I just wanted to raise those as possibilities.
Any response to these call outs? Yeah.
I'll just say that I'm still sort of considering and weighing what my bandwidth is going to support for the next year.
Okay. Any more? Yes, Commissioner Coleman Garcia.
This can also be a call out. I have a question for Commissioner Berkowitz, who in previous meeting had commented, if I remember correctly, had commented that you would be interested in possibly considering a role as an officer at the Energy Commission. Just a question.
I would consider it. I still have many things going on in my life that preclude me to think being as deeply dedicated to this body as I would like to if I were to step into a leadership role. But sorry, that's my dog Manali. She's very passionate about Energy Commission issues as well. Anyway, I would consider it, but I would love for other folks to step up, and so I can continue supporting work behind the scenes and the work group and other things of that nature.
Councilmember Medina.
Yeah, I would just echo that. I think all of the names that have been mentioned would be wonderful. I think that it doesn't seem like we're going to probably come to a consensus tonight, and so the other thing that maybe we can do is, if Joe, if you're willing to kind of just put out a reminder to folks and let folks express interests behind the scenes, which can sometimes maybe be a little bit more or less intimidating than doing it here. And just if folks are interested, are willing to learn more about it, I'm sure that Claire or Erica or I would all be happy to chat with you as well about what it might entail. And meanwhile, don't be surprised if you get a call from Erica or I continuing to twist your arm to step up into leadership.
The show must go on. Yes, Joe?
Yeah, I'll just say I'll send out an email this week or something. Just one, you all have my contact information, everything like that, but I'll also include like my calendar and stuff like that. So, yeah, more than welcome to talk to anyone. Like I said, I know this is a awkward position to just be like, hey, do you want to do it? So, no, it's kind of a weird forum. So happy to talk to anyone. Like I said, you'll have my calendar availability and all that. So you're welcome to schedule a meeting, talk more about it. Happy to go into, roughly here's what the chair does. Here's what a time commitment looks like. Here's, and if that's, if that's concerning or anything like that, happy to look at different alternatives or different ways to kind of try to figure out something that works for folks. So just throwing out there, definitely happy to talk to anyone anytime offline in any way. So.
And I want to give Joe due respect and props because he is really the the grease of this entire machine. Just being so responsive and helpful and kind and just so great to work with. So anybody who would be stepping into leadership position in this commission would be very well supported by him. So you're not doing it all alone. Okay, yeah, so let's move on. And just know that we're gonna have a vote next month and it's final. All right. All right, so next agenda item, we're gonna take report from staff. So Joe, would you please take the floor?
Maybe if I can find my stuff. No, all good. Yeah, so just a couple updates. Some are, some that we've had questions about before, just kind of talked about before. One, I did want to note that we do now have a public-facing performance metrics dashboard. It's live on both the A20 website as well as on the city administrator's website. This dashboard shows metrics on community-wide greenhouse gas emissions, specific A20 strategies, as well as engagement. It primarily shows data and how it relates to the targets set in the A20 plan. Do just want to note that because the dashboard is inherently less accessible than other forms of outreach, specifically when it comes to certain things like screen readers or other, ability to access program updates and qualitative information will still be shared on the OSI website in newsletters and in other forms, so everyone is able to continue to access this information regardless of regardless of any inaccessibility concerns. And the dashboard will continue to be updated. We'll be adding more information as we have data and capacity available for it. An update on some of the work we've been doing on city facilities in regard to solar. Through contracts, we've been working with Homeland Solar and Parks and Recreation to install solar arrays at various city parks. Since this kicked off in mid-2023, over 350 kilowatts of solar arrays have been installed at various park locations, including Cobblestone Farm, Burr Park, Leslie Park, and Huron Hills golf courses, and Burns Senior Center. Solar installation types include roof mounts, ground mounts, and carport arrays. In addition, over 500 kilowatts of behind-the-meter solar installations are currently planned at other park sites and city facilities, including the Water Resource Recovery Facility, the Municipal Airport, and Veterans Memorial Park. And in regard to benchmarking, just for the 2024 benchmarking cycle, buildings greater than 20,000 square feet must benchmark and report energy and water data to the city. Covered buildings have received postcard notifications of this upcoming deadline to do so. The city has increased our capacity for benchmarking support. We've hired an energy coordinator who's focused on this, and the contract with the Ann Arbor/Washtenaw County 2030 district for additional support. In regard to I know we've talked about some of the data reporting. We're currently working to resolve some technical challenges with data reported for previous years. With this additional capacity, we're working to resolve some of these technical challenges in an effort to ensure, as it's publicly accessible data, making sure that only accurate data is shared publicly, and we'll post that data with the report once those issues are resolved. So that is all I have for now.
Fantastic. All right, so we will take now a working group update. It's okay if I don't know if y'all have met. And I know we were going to kind of highlight you in the discussion about the administrator's memo. So, Commissioner Berkowitz, Vice Chair Harp, do you have anything to add here?
I think we can probably just wait until the city administrator's incentive memo comes back on the agenda for discussion. I've got some things to share from the work group meeting that happened a month or two ago, but less pertinent now. We table that discussion.
Great, thanks. Yeah, we'll do that next month. Okay, Environmental Commission, Commissioner Murski.
think you're muted there.
Thank you. The commission received a presentation from Jen Lawton and Jerry Hancock, who, by the way, is retiring, and after really, I think, doing providing a lot of great service to the city. They presented proposed changes to public, what is it called? Public street stormwater management guidelines. We were also presented with a resolution in support of those guidelines, but somewhat similar today, we were not presented with the changes to the guidelines. So while we received a presentation, the vote on the resolution has been postponed to our next meeting. The other thing we did is that, as she did to us, Missy presented the summary of the 100% renewable energy options report. In addition to that, there was a presentation by Greg Woodring, president of A2P2, on the background and the rationale for a phase 2 MEU analysis. If I can just make one comment on that, I wanted to actually say this earlier. I heard, I did not attend the town hall where the SEU and the MEU were presented and discussed. But what I heard afterwards is, in a discussion, there was some comments. This is mostly directed at the two council liaisons, that the $1 million phase 2 study most likely would not be able to assess the value of the basically permanent franchise that DTE has under the Foot Act. And I am not an expert in this, but I spent my entire life working in business. And it seems to me that is something that could indeed be valued. With the analysis, the assets of the MEU would be estimated. We know that DTE earns a fixed rate of return. I think it's 8.5% on those assets. DTE knows what the rate stream is roughly. And there's lots of people that do valuations of businesses based on what their revenues are and what their costs are and so on and so forth. So it seems to me that that should be, if indeed there is a phase 2, there should be a robust discussion on the valuation to DTE, or their loss, if you will, to DTE in what it would mean if they were to lose the ability to provide electricity to the city of Ann Arbor. So I just wanted to put that out there because I know that it's in the mayor's proposed, or not the mayor's, the city administrator's proposed budget. And before an amount is finalized and a scope of that is finalized, that really should be assessed. So that's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Murski. That's very insightful. Thanks for sharing that. Council updates from council members. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. As Commissioner Murski noted at our last council meeting on April 1st, the council passed a series of 4 resolutions that were based largely in terms of moving forward the recommendations that were in the economic development report that was provided to us. And they were divided into sort of 4 different resolutions based on themes, one of which was sustainability. And so definitely important for the commission to see this. A lot of it, while there were some items that council moved forward, a lot of it is about getting information back to the city council, basically requesting information the city council can then use to make future decisions from. So that'll also be important for this commission to be seeing that information and to be getting for the community at large for us to be able to be moving forward those recommendations. A lot of the themes are, are based around the concept of, how do we incentivize, since we can't require electrification and anything over our current building code. and how can we make the development process easier for those who are building in a way much more aligned with our city's sustainability goals. So those resolutions will be shared here later, and we can kind of think about them as a package of items that we'd love some feedback on.
Great. Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks. So I know we've already talked about a lot of things that we might have updated at this point. There is some language that's been circulated around moving forward with an SEU, as we all now intimately know. It is my hope that will be coming in the relatively soon for council to consider. I'd like us to move forward with this. I also just wanted to add, I had the opportunity last week to meet with the acting secretary of HUD, who was visiting Ann Arbor. She specifically was in Ann Arbor while there were a number of reasons she was kind of touring around different sites in the Washtenaw County area. But one of the reasons she specifically came to Ann Arbor was to visit our Creekside Court community. And one of the important pieces of Creekside Court is that there are solar panels on the roofs at Creekside, and a bunch of the sustainability work that is happening in partnership with our housing commission is being made possible by HUD and their continued partnership. And so to see the acting secretary here in Ann Arbor, to actually see that, to be able to hear a presentation from Jennifer Hall, and to understand kind of the importance of that continued partnership, not just around housing affordability, but also around making sure that those affordable housing developments here in Ann Arbor are sustainable and quality places for people to live, I think is really important and heartening to see. And then because this is the Energy Commission, I just also wanted to bring up, I know that it's an item that that several council members reached out to DTE about with respect to the ongoing infrastructure challenges we have. There was a transformer outage again, kind of just west of Packard a few weeks ago. This transformer goes out almost every month. It blows up. The same people lose power. And so there are a number, the council members from Ward 3 and Ward 4 are in conversations with DTE about why this continues to happen, and why when they come out and fix it, they're not upgrading it and making sure that they're not back out again in a month. But it's something to be on, I think, this body's radar and our radar, that if folks continue to see patterns where the same infrastructure is failing over and over and over again, please let council members know. We are in communication with DTE about those problems, and we need to continue holding them accountable for failures with reliability. So I just wanted to let folks know that is something that's on our radar, and we're pressuring them on fixing that permanently.
Okay, fantastic updates. Thank you. All right, we're going to move to our last opportunity for public comment tonight. Folks can call in and speak up for up to 3 minutes. If you're watching on CTN, please call 888-788-0099 or 877-853-5247. And the meeting ID is 956-8718-7876. This information is also displayed on the meeting agenda and the video feed. City staff will select callers that have raised their hand, and they will call out the last 3 digits of your phone number. To electronically raise your hand to indicate your desire to speak, press *9 on your phone, and you'll hear a message that the host is allowing you to speak. And when speaking, please move to a quiet area so that we may hear you clearly. And again, state your name and address before beginning your comments. Joe, is there anyone on the line?
Yep. We got caller ending in 228.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. My name is Greg Woodring. I'm the president of Ann Arbor for Public Power. I wanted to call in again to correct the record on a few things, but first I'd like to apologize for not having sent you all the language for the resolution prior to the meeting. We had assumed that you would have already received it. And so we certainly would have tried to correct that on our end as well if we could have. This language absolutely does create an impediment to the creation of a municipal energy utility. While we understand that the intent here is to create an SEU, the language that is in this resolution explicitly forbids, without future city charter amendments, the creation of the transition of an SEU into a municipal energy utility. I would refer the commission and council members to the July 2021 Energy Commission meeting, where lawyer Chris Bisdock, former mayor of Traverse City, and board members of Traverse City Power and Light presented on the legal roadmap for municipalization. The necessary vote to the people for the creation of a municipal energy utility is a acquisition of the bonds. The rest of it is up in the air about whether there is a legal necessity for it. However, the creation of a city charter amendment to establish an electric utility is certainly a helpful step, as the city has identified. However, there does not need to be more than one electric utility for the city of Ann Arbor, and that is what the SEU language is creating. There is no reason to mandate that it is opt-in, fee-based, or from 100% renewable energy in this language. It simply creates an additional vote and an additional ability for DTE to stop this movement. Well, I understand that the idea that there may be some concerns about not including some of this language, I point out that there is much about the utility that is also not established in this, such as how it'll be governed, or how rates will be based, or how it'll be how people will access it. That will come later in an ordinance, and things like an opt-in or fee-based structure or anything like that could be passed by ordinance after this ballot amendment is voted on by the people of Ann Arbor. Ann Arbor for Public Power has always supported an SEU as a pathway towards full municipalization. This does not create an SEU that is a pathway to full municipalization. And I do not believe Ann Arbor for Public Power will support this language as it stands. Thank you.
Thank you. No other callers at this time. Thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so great. We're going to move to our next agenda item, which is items for our next agenda. So I already have our discussion of the resolution directing the city administrator on carrots and sticks incentives for electrification and increasing emissions reductions. And our chair, vice chair vote. Are there any other topics that folks wanted to float? It's Commissioner Orski.
I'd like to propose two things. We heard that OSI has a new dashboard related to greenhouse gases and energy. We know that we get an annual report on the greenhouse gas inventory. Typically that's occurred in August. I would hope we can accelerate that process. And I would hope that we can review the dashboard at the same time, because the two sort of go hand in hand. So I think there's an opportunity to combine those two topics. And the other thing that I'd like to continue to point out is we have yet to review the green rental housing program. We know that it was in front of the city attorneys in sometime in January. It's now April. 50% of the units in Ann Arbor are rental units. If the same kind of delays are built into the introduction of this, where we had with the home energy disclosure, where there was 6 months after it was passed before it went into effect, and another 6 months before there were penalties, that's another year that we would lose on anything related to upgrades to rental housing stock. And we just cannot afford to have another year of delay on this. It was scheduled in the A20 plan as going into effect in 2022. So I would urge us to try to get that on the agenda as soon as possible and to get it to council. Thank you.
Okay, noted. Any other agenda items? All right, fantastic. All right, so we'll move to adjournment. It's currently 8:05 p.m. and as chair, I declare this meeting adjourned. Thanks everyone for a great discussion, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks. Good night.
Thanks all.